Howdy, Ags. Welcome to Aggie Growth Hacks, the podcast sponsored by the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship at Texas A&M. And this podcast is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs improve their business, connect with other Aggie entrepreneurs, and support one another. I'm your host, Greg Martin, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2001.
And I'm your co-host, Chris Hunter, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 1998. Whoop!
Well, we got a little story for you, Ags. We are wrapping up season 9 of Aggie Growth Hacks, and Chris and I wanted to take some time not only to say thank you to all of our guests, but also, as if you've been following us at all, you know that both Chris and I are entrepreneurs in our own right. And it's bittersweet to say this, but both of us have had extreme growth in our businesses. And while we love Aggie Growth Hacks and we love you, the community that has supported us since the beginning, we love the McFerrin Center for really speaking into entrepreneurship, Aggie entrepreneurship. Right now, we've come to a difficult decision that we're going to just hit pause on Aggie Growth Hacks. So there won't be a season coming out, and we're not sure when we're going to be circling back. But as entrepreneurs yourself, I think that you would all agree that we've got to take care of our baby. We've got to take care of that thing that we are passionate about and loving. And we're passionate about, and we love Aggie Growth Hacks, but this is a side hustle. Is that fair, Chris?
Well, absolutely. And I got to say that, the past, my gosh, we've been doing this for what, 5 years now?
Yeah. We dropped right before COVID, and we're going to end right about that time.
I know. And I remember asking the question, we're going into lockdown, or should we even drop these episodes?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, what else are people going to do?
That's true.
It was true. Yeah. But yeah, I got to say that, it's definitely been a journey. It has, I've learned a lot, when you interview over 150 successful Aggie entrepreneurs, right? And any entrepreneurs, right? But successful entrepreneurs, you tend to kind of soak in a lot of things, and I know that I've soaked in a ton of stuff, and I've implemented a lot of things from these conversations into my own business. And I've sat there and watched your journey too, going from a banker, right, working for a bank, to then stepping out to being an entrepreneur yourself, right? What have you learned along the way here?
I've learned that Taco Tuesday is a good thing, and honestly, so I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna pay an homage to you. One of the biggest things that I've learned as an entrepreneur is that you are so much more busy than you even think. And if you have a W-2 job and you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I would 100% encourage you to explore that. But when they say you're going to work harder than you've ever worked hard in your life, you may work hard now, you don't understand. And part of that is because of the passion that you have for your business. Part of that is because if you don't do it, the stuff's not going to get done.
Yep.
Part of that is that you just have to grind. And I am not all about grind culture and you put everything else on pause for your business, but I am for realizing that you do have to work hard and you have to make sacrifices, and your calendar will control you if you don't control it. So one of the biggest things that I learned, and I'm still learning how to perfect it, truly is blocking and tackling. To be able to say, I've got to every day, every week, every other week, whatever, say, here's my priorities. Here's what has to get done. Here are my rocks for the day, so to speak.
Yeah.
EOS, that's another thing that a lot of us talked about. But here are the most critical things that happen. And I'm going to be purposeful about saying, this is the part of the day that I'm going to dedicate to that. And then having the courage to shut off your email, to turn off your phone, and to focus in on that. Yeah. For me, I'm a fractional CFO. And so I've got 6 or 7, depending on the engagement, clients that need my time. And so I've got to be so focused on doing that, because if I'm not, then I'm swirling around in the back of my head of the 30 things that have to get done. And I don't have clear vision of, this is priority 1, this is priority 2, this is priority 3. And I'm going to dedicate time for that. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. What are your takeaways from the last 5 years, 9 seasons?
Prior to Aggie Growth Hacks, I'd been an entrepreneur myself. I don't know, was that 15 years or so, right? Maybe 16. give or take, since 2003 officially, 1998 unofficially. I've learned a lot of things. And one of the biggest things that I never really thought about as an entrepreneur, just because I was stuck in with blinders on, right? And sometimes as entrepreneurs, you get that way to where you're like, okay, this is what I have to do, right? And you've got the blinders on and you can't, and you put your nose to the grindstone and you get her done, right? I think that out of interviewing however many people that we've interviewed, right, 150 or so, that grit, entrepreneurial grit is a real thing, okay? Mm-hmm. And I think we all learned it during the 2020, and 2021 timeframe, and a lot of us are still going through that, right? And really figuring out, okay, well, is this even what I want to do? Plus, and if it is, then just wholeheartedly going after it. I've heard it over and over and over again from all of the different entrepreneurs that we've interviewed, that find your one thing that you're really, really good at. Find your one thing and really just wholeheartedly go after that one thing. The thing is that we've interviewed, almost all of the people that we've interviewed are on the Aggie 100 list, right? Mm-hmm. Have won Aggie 100 in one shape or fashion or another. And several of them are, the top winners, right?
Right.
Anyway, so kind of circling back to that is that's the one thing that I would say that everything else being set aside, to find your one thing and wholeheartedly go after that, and don't let anything stop you.
Yeah, I would agree 1,000% with that. And then realizing that it's going to take grit to pursue that, because there's going to be distractions. Yeah. There's going to be things that you think have to get done. And if you're a solopreneur, okay, well, yeah, you're the guy or gal that's going to have to do it. But if you're not, you've got to build a team. You've got to build systems. You've got to build a culture, and you've got to trust your people. Yeah. You've got to be able to say, hey, when I look at my, I'm a numbers nerd. So when I look at my P&L, I don't call expenses, cash flowing out expenses. Yeah. I call those investments. Yeah. And for 99% of the companies that I've ever worked with, the single biggest investment in your company that your company makes every single week, every single month, every single year is your people. And you have to realize, if I'm going to be investing so much into them, I need to teach them. I need to coach them. I need to provide leadership for the framework by how we do things. Yep. And then I got to have an open hand and trust them. Right. I got to trust them to do what our mission, vision, and values are, to do it in a way that is consistent with our values, and to do it in a way that allows us to achieve the long-term goal that you as the owner have set out. So culture trumps a good business plan 10 times out of 10. And to be able to realize that, I was thinking back to one of our very first episodes, Ross Morell, where he talked about one of his biggest things that he does is invest in his people, invest in the people, like in, making sure that they're technically competent, but then also giving them information and making sure that they're continuing to learn and grow and be happy. And that helps Frog Slayer grow and have lots and lots of success. Right. So it's the culture that we heard time and time again. We dedicated a whole season to it, talking about culture and how do you build culture and how do you define culture.
And that was by accident, right? That was by accident, because just everyone that came on was talking about core values and culture and the vision of the company and staying true to the vision of the company, and 100% I agree with that. And really the other part that I see beyond culture, beyond core values is the underlying that most businesses that are very successful are built on a framework, right? Whether that framework is scaling up, whether that framework is EOS, whether that framework is something altogether different, like who was that? Jason Casper, right? That built his own framework for how he was going to operate his business.
The Casper business model.
Right. The skills, right? Acronym. But I think that looking back on all this and all of the key things that I've taken away and implemented into my own business are just amazing, honestly, and it's been an amazing journey as an entrepreneur, right? Sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone and get into your growth zone. Okay. This was one step for me of that. And even though we're sitting behind cameras and we decided to do all of our interviews on Zoom, it's made me a better speaker.
Well, not all of them. There's 4 of them that were in person.
Well, that's true. Right. 4 of them in person. But I believe that it's made me a better speaker and has given me the confidence to get outside of behind a computer, even though right now I'm literally behind a computer, and to really get out of that comfort zone and into something different. And because I believe that growth is right there where you're not comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I've got another podcast that I started on my own because of this. I learned how to podcast, right? In the industry that I'm in, right? In the roofing industry. And so I interview other coaches, other people who know a lot of things inside of the roofing industry. So it's almost the same exact format. I'm not good with the name, so it's actually called Roofer Growth Hacks, you know?
Well, you came up with Aggie Growth Hacks, so you've got creative liberty.
And I remember when we were sitting down there trying to come up with a name, you're like, okay, let's go with that, I guess. What is a growth hack, you know? Kind of a thing. So, and we've gotten those questions along the way of what is a growth hack.
Yeah. And I think that you're having that framework by which you can all have a common language and all have a common goal. And, going from my military time, you're all giving way together. We're all rowing in the same direction, and we're putting aside personality, idiosyncrasies and individuality and stuff like that for the betterment of a common goal. And that's something that, we learned at A&M. When you've got 112,000 people swaying back and forth in unison, it's for the common goal of cheering the Ags on. And that's a silly example, but that's also a real life example when you're facing a global pandemic and you're being shut down by government agencies, but you are desperate to take care of your people and to make sure that they are taken care of and that their houses remain and their families are safe. Then you've got to give way together and figure it all out to be able to say, okay, how can we do this? And I think that that's another thing. I wasn't surprised by this. Actually, I think that this was one of the premises that we had going into Aggie Growth Hacks, is that entrepreneurship today really is a team sport. Every single person that has come on Aggie Growth Hacks has said, I love that you are expanding a community. Yeah. And that community's purpose is to encourage one another, to connect other ags, to be able to say, hey, how can we help each other? Even though we might be, technically competitors within the same business, to be able to realize that entrepreneurship a lot of times is so lonely. Mm-hmm. And to be able to have that mentality of openness and being a team player, being an Aggie, and to say, I'm going to help you overcome some of the challenges that you've got. I may not have the right answer, but I can tell you how I did it. And you can at least now have a couple more data points in order to make the best decision for you and your company. And the willingness for people to be able to have it. I remember John Albers said, if you're an Aggie, a Marine, or a C-130 pilot, if you're all 3 of those, you're guaranteed to get on John's calendar. And John is a multiple Aggie 100 winner, a number 1 Aggie 100 winner. If you follow him or Albert's Aerospace on LinkedIn at all, it seems every other week they're growing and buying another company and acquiring. So this is the dude that you think your schedule's busy, my schedule's busy. He's probably got, midnight to midnight blocked and tackled. Yep. But it is the willingness for ags to help one another and to grow and to lift each other up that made me, it's just, we knew that going into it, but now it's proven and it's so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to thank the McFerrin Center for, really, because when we first started this thing, right, I figured out that I am not a video editor. I am not a sound engineer. I am not any of that stuff. And our plan at first was to do all of that. Well, the McFerrin Center stepped in because it kind of helped with things in their wheelhouse, and they really wanted to be a part of it. So I just want to thank them, Blake and Shanna at the McFerrin Center, for believing in us and really helping us as our sponsor, for the past 5 years. It's like I said, it's just been an amazing journey, and not saying that this is it, but I think that putting it on pause for a little bit is kind of needed for both of us. I know I've seen you get even busier and busier, harder and harder to get on your schedule, right? And mine, of course, has been that way for a long time. And just putting a little pause on this whole thing and just saying, hey, thanks, Ags. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's, I want to echo everything that you said. It was the McFerrin Center that really made the difference in this, and to be able to come alongside. And I mean, and they truly do live out their mission of helping and wanting to be the hub of entrepreneurship at Texas A&M, to be able to say, how can we do this? And we're just one small facet of the myriads of programs that we have. So Ags, even though Aggie Growth Hacks is being put on pause, the McFerrin Center is there for you, and to help provide education, help provide connection, help provide guidance. And so definitely take advantage of that. But also I want to say, both Chris and I want to say thank you to you, the listeners that really have encouraged us, that have lifted us up, that have challenged us, that have given us brilliant ideas about how to make this thing consistently better season after season. This is, podcasting is a lot of fun, but it's also a labor of love. It's not quite a whole separate side hustle, but it is definitely a side hustle. And I want to again thank you, Chris, for your leadership and like all of the technical stuff. For those of you who don't realize, we broke it up. I would kind of go find the talent, and I was the one that would go out and manage the schedules and bringing Ags on. We would record, and then it was like, okay, Chris, I'm going to upload it into Google, and you take it from there. But you built a system and a team around it that got it into post-production, that got it into communication with our guests about the social media posts, writing the copy, doing all that stuff, and then consistently loading it up onto the different podcast apps to be able to make sure that it's done, posting it on social media, doing all that. So I also learned through this, what it takes to grow. And I mean, it's not that I haven't been on teams before, but to have a really good and open communication with a peer, and to delineate and say, okay, here are the things that I will take care of. Here are the things that you're going to take care of.
Yep.
And then have the trust in one another that I got it, you got it, let's rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the honestly, you're giving me credit, but it's really my team that has come up with the system of how we post edit, how do we do all this stuff, that needs to be done. But yeah, just like anything in business, it's a system, right? And we had to build it because otherwise it wouldn't be consistent.
It wouldn't get done.
No, and it wouldn't get done. So yeah, absolutely. And there's just a lot of things that I want to, I'm very thankful for this entire podcast, but and the growth that I've seen in both of us, and the growth that, we've seen from the people that we've interviewed, as well as other people that we talked to, that are like, hey, I've binge watched or listened to all of your episodes, before, which is kind of a cool thing.
That is a cool thing.
It's really, you're like, oh, that's okay, cool. Glad that you listen to some guy rambling on over here, about business. So, but yeah, thanks so much everyone for tuning in and listening to Greg and I over the years.
Well, Ags, that's going to do it for this episode. And for now, that's going to do it for Aggie Growth Hacks podcast. If you're listening to this and we're not connected by any chance, we're not connected, please connect with Chris or I, connect with the show. We want to be able to continue to serve, support, encourage, and connect you with other entrepreneurs that we can. So if there is someone that you're listening to and you're saying, hey, I want to be connected to that, Greg, Chris, can you introduce me to Travis Tatum, our number one guest way back in the day? Sure. We will definitely do that. And to be able to just encourage you. Thank y'all so much, and continue to follow us and like us, and let's connect and let us know how we can serve you.
All right. For the last time, we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship at Texas A&M University. Since 1999, the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship has served as the hub of entrepreneurship for Texas A&M. If you're an Aggie entrepreneur or even a wantrepreneur, head on over to their website right now to find a program that's right for you. Just go to aggiegrowthhacks.com/McFerrin right now. Well, Ags, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next time we actually record again, this is Chris Hunter.
And I'm Greg Martin. We love you. Thanks, and gig 'em.
Whoop.